We tend to think of getting sober as the finish line, right? The big victory. But what happens when it's not? What if, for some people, getting clean is just the beginning of a whole new kind of hell? Let's start by listening to someone who's living that reality right now.
Wow. Okay. So those are the words of a man named Adam. And he's done it. He's gotten clean, something people fight their entire lives to achieve. But you can just feel it in those words, right? There's no peace there. It's just raw, unfiltered despair.
And that really is the central mystery we're unpacking today. 7 months sober. That's a huge deal. That should be a cause for celebration. So why is Adam's life a living hell, filled with panic attacks and anxiety? Well, to figure that out, we have to dig a lot deeper than just the addiction itself.
The material we're looking at today points to a concept that might explain this agony. It's something called a broken spirit. And look, this isn't just about feeling down or depressed. We're talking about a much deeper wound, something that was there long before any drugs entered the picture.
So what does that even mean, a broken spirit? Well, think of it as this profound emotional injury, one that stems from really severe trauma in childhood. It shows up as this constant, gnawing emptiness, bitterness, and a feeling that you're fundamentally shattered and lost. And this is the most important part. This is the original wound.
So how does a spirit even get broken like that? To understand, we have to go all the way back to the beginning, to the source of the trauma in Adam's own childhood. And I've got to warn you, this is harrowing stuff. At just 6 years old, Adam was held at rifle point by his own father. And that wasn't a one-off event. It was part of a daily reality where his head was smashed through walls and he had to watch his mother being beaten even while she was pregnant. That wasn't a home. It was a war zone.
Adam himself connects the dots for us perfectly. When your spirit is shattered that young, the need to escape that pain becomes overwhelming. The impulse isn't just to get high, it's, in his words, to numb that shit. It's about finding any possible way to silence the screaming inside.
And this is how a devastating, self-perpetuating cycle gets started. The initial trauma, the attempt to numb it, and the aftermath. They all feed into each other, creating this downward spiral that feels almost impossible to escape.
Okay, so let's walk through how this works. Step 1. The childhood trauma creates the broken spirit. Step 2. Addiction becomes the coping mechanism, the anesthetic. But here's the twist. Step 3. Sobriety. You take away the anesthetic, and suddenly that original wound is exposed and screaming in pain. And then step 4, if all you find in sobriety is isolation and rejection, it doesn't just hurt, it actively breaks the spirit all the more.
And this just perfectly shows the massive gap between what we think getting sober should be and what it actually is for Adam. The expectation is a new beginning, a sense of victory. The reality for him is a living hell of withdrawal, constant panic, and feeling like human refuse. Sobriety didn't bring him peace, it just brought the war inside.
And here's what keeps that vicious cycle going. At the exact moment he needs a support system the most, he finds absolutely nothing. He's rejected by his family and, unbelievably, by the very systems that are supposed to help.
Get this number. 57. That is the number of support programs that rejected him. 57 doors slammed in the face of a man who was fighting for his life. Just try to imagine the weight of that.
And you can hear the result in his own words. That isolation, it isn't just lonely, it's an active force of destruction. It shatters his will, his spirit, his heart. It's like he fought tooth and nail to climb out of a deep, dark hole, only to find himself completely alone in a barren wasteland. So, this all brings us to the science behind Adam's agony. Why can't sheer willpower and just stopping the drugs heal these kinds of wounds? Why isn't getting clean enough?
Well, the work of trauma expert Dr. Bessel van der Kolk gives us a really crucial piece of the puzzle. He explains that trauma isn't just the story of something that happened years ago. It's the imprint that experience leaves on your mind, your brain, and your body, right now, in the present. It's a physiological reality, not just a bad memory.
This really gets to the heart of it. The body keeps the score. Adam's constant state of high alert, his insomnia, his panic attacks, these aren't just psychological. They are the physical echoes of his trauma. His body is still living in that violent childhood home, constantly braced for the next blow. Addiction was the only anesthetic he had for that physical pain.
And this is exactly why sobriety alone can't be the cure. Healing that physical imprint of trauma takes so much more. It requires caring relationships, the very thing Adam can't find, and it often needs what are called bottom-up therapies. Things like yoga, EMDR, or neurofeedback that engage the body directly
and help the nervous system finally learn that the war is actually over.
Which leaves us with this final, really challenging thought. Adam's story shows us that for many people, addiction isn't the main disease. It's a symptom of that deeper wound. So if just stopping the symptom doesn't heal the person, it forces us all to ask a much bigger question. What does real healing actually look like, and how do we as a society help provide it?